Hello there and welcome back to Formula Amateur, where today we are doing our very first, very big Silverstone race rundown, where not only are we talking about Formula 1, but we are also talking about Formula 2, and we'll actually start with Formula 2 and then lead on to Formula 1, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start off with the F2 feature race in Silverstone. So in first place we had Jack Crawford, followed by Alexander Dunn in second, Luke Browning in third, fourth we had Dino Beganovic, in fifth we had Sebastian Montoya, in sixth Leonardo Fornioli, in seventh Richard Verschoor, in eighth Arvid Lindblad, in ninth Pepe Marti, in 10th Rafael Villagomez, in 11th we had Oliver Goethe, in 12th we had John Bennett, in 13th we had Max Esterson, in 14th Kian Shields, in 15th we had Ratomo Miata, then in 16th we had Kushmani, in 17th we had Amaury Cordial, in 18th we had Victor Martin, then in 19th we had Sami Megatunith, in 20th we had Joshua Dirksen, and then two people who were out of the race were Roman Stanek and Gabriele Mini. Okay, so if you've listened to my Saturday episode where I went through all of the race results from the sprint and feature races that have happened in 2025 for F2, you would have been up to date in what the driver standings were up until the sprint race of Silverstone. So now, following the feature race, this is how the driver standings look. So Richard Verschoor is still in the lead with 122 points, followed by Jack Crawford, who is 6 points behind in 116, and then after that it's Alex Dunn in third with 108, so he's 8 points down, and then Leonardo Fornioli is another 4 points behind on 104, and he's in fourth. In fifth we have Luke Browning, he's 6 points behind on 98. In sixth we have Arvid Lindblad with 84 points, so he's 14 behind, and then in seventh we have Sebastian Montoya, he's 12 points behind on 72, and then in eighth we have Pepe Marti, he's 3 points behind on 69. In ninth we have Victor Martin, who is 17 points behind on 52. In 10th we have Dino Beganovic, who is 9 points behind on 43. In 11th we have Roman Stanek, who is 14 points behind on 29. In 12th we have Kushmani, who is 3 points behind on 26. And then in 13th we have Joshua Dirksen, who is 3 points behind on 23. In 14th we have Gabriele Mini, who's 2 points behind on 21. In 15th we have Oliver Goethe, 9 points behind with 12 points. In 16th Rafael Villagomez is 1 point behind with 11 points. In 17th we have Ratomo Miata with 6 points, so he's 5 points behind. And then in 18th we have Amaury Cordial, who is 4 points behind on 2. And then in 19th positions we have Sami Megatunith, who has 2 points, so he is equal to Cordial. And then in 20th we have Max Esterson, who is on 0 points, so he's 2 points behind. And then Kian Shields and John Bennett, who are both also on 0 points. It just depends on how they finished in the races. So John Bennett is in 22nd and Kian Shields is in 21st. So where does that lead the 11 teams in the team standings? Well, in top place we have Campos Racing with 153 points, followed by Dams Lucas Oil, who are 11 points behind on 142, followed by High Tech, who are 1 point behind on 141. Then we have MP Motorsport on 134, so they're 7 points behind previous, and then Victor is 1 point behind them on 133. Then Rodin is 23 points behind on 110, and then Prima is 17 points behind on 93, and then Art Grand Prix is 35 points behind on 58, and then AIX is another 35 points behind on 23. VAR, Van Amersfoort Racing, is 12 points behind on 11, and then Trident in last, 9 points behind with only 2 points to their name as of the Silverstone feature race. So now let's get into F1. So we will start as we would usually from the bottom to the top with FP1. So in 20th we had Gabriele Bortoleto with 23 laps, and then in 19th we had Gasly with 23 laps. We had Oliver Bearman in 18th with 24. Then we had Paul Aaron, who was taking place of Nico Hulkenberg due to the requirements that each driver has to be replaced twice during the calendar year to fulfill their requirements for giving younger drivers an opportunity to drive in F1. And Aaron finished in 17th with 25 laps. Colapinto was 16th with 27 laps. Ocon was 15th with 23 laps. And then 14th we had Arvid Lindblad, who also fulfilled in for Sonoda due to the requirements for young drivers to step into an F1 car, and him recently being allowed to have a super license early as a 17-year-old. He did 22 laps and finished 14th. And then in 13th we had Sainz, and he did 26 laps. Stroll in 12th with 22 laps. Alonso in 11th with 24 laps. Verstappen with 26 laps in 10th. Antonelli with 25 laps in 9th. Lawson with 27 laps in 8th. Albon with 30 laps in 7th. Hadjar with 28 laps in 6th. Russell in 5th with 25 laps. Leclerc with 26 laps and he was in 4th. Piastri with 28 laps in 3rd. Norris with 26 laps in 2nd. And then Hamilton at top in the grid with 26 laps and the fastest time. So now let's move on to FP2, shall we? In FP2 we have all the drivers back in their seats, and in 20th we have Colapinto with 29 laps and he dropped 4 places. And in 19th we have Bearman, he did 27 laps and dropped by 1 place, and he swapped places with Gasly, who ended up in 18th and had 24 laps, gaining 1 position. And then Hulkenberg did 29 laps in 17th and did not gain any places in comparison to where Paul Aaron was in FP1. And then Sainz in 16th, he did 27 laps and lost 3 positions. Sonoda in 15th with 25 laps, he lost 1 position. Ocon gained 1 position in 14th with 26 laps. Bortoleto gained 7 positions in 13th and did 27 laps. Alonso moved 1 place down, he did 24 laps and was in 12th. Albon in 11 and he did 30 laps and went down by 4 positions. Lawson did 28 laps, finished in 10th and he was down 2 positions. And then Hadjar was in 9th, he did 27 laps and was down 3 positions. And then Russell in 8th, 27 laps and was down 3 positions. And Stroll with 24 laps in 7th, he was up 5 positions. Antonelli in 6th, 28 laps and up 3 positions. Verstappen in 5th, 23 laps and up by 5 positions. Piastri in 4th, 27 laps and down 1 position. In 3rd, Hamilton, 29 laps and down 2 positions. In 2nd, we had Leclerc with 29 laps, up 2 positions. And in 1st, Norris with 26 laps and up by 1 position. So now let's get into FP3. FP3 now, and there were some interesting things going on with Bearman receiving a penalty, a 10 grid place penalty for the race, regardless of where he qualified. He was down 10 places and had 4 penalty points added to his name, but we'll go into that when we get to him, even though he did get better as time went on. So in 20th we had Gasly, he did 16 laps and was down 2 positions. In 19th we had Stroll, he did 14 laps and was down 15 positions. And then Colapinto was up 2 positions, he did 14 laps and was in 18th. Alonso did 16 laps, was down 5 positions in 17th. Bortoleto did 15 laps, down 3 positions to 16th. Hulkenberg did 19 laps, up 2 positions in 15th. Antonelli did 12 laps and he was down 8 positions to 14th. Ocon did 12 laps, was up 1 position in 13th. Sainz did 16 laps, was up 4 positions to 12. Hamilton did 17 laps, was down 8 positions to 11. Lawson did 14 laps and did not move anywhere and stayed in 10th. Hadjar did also 14 laps and also did not move, so he was once again in 9th. Russell did 13 laps and he also stayed where he was in 8th. And then Albon did 15 laps, was up 4 positions in 7th. And then Behrman, 13 laps, he got up 13 positions to 6th. He sped in the pit lane under a red flag when Bortoleto crashed very near to the end of the of FP3, and as a result that's where he got his penalty points and his 10th place grid penalty. He lost a front wing, it was under red flag conditions, and instead of slowing down he attacked the pit lane and cost him a lot as a result. And then in 5th place Tsunoda, he did 13 laps, up 10 positions. Norris did 17 laps, lost 3 positions in 4th. Verstappen did 14 laps, went up by 2 and was in 3rd. Piastri did 14 laps and was up 2 positions in 2nd. And then Leclerc did 14 laps and was up 1 position in 1st. So now let's talk about where everyone started on the grid. So now the starting grid where everyone qualified, but this also takes into consideration the penalties that people had. So in 20th position was Colapinto, he moved down 2 places. In 19th we had Hulkenberg, who moved down 4 places. Behrman, although he qualified 8th with the 10th place grid penalty, he had to move down to 18th, so he lost 12 positions in comparison to FP3. Stroll was up 2 positions in 17th. Bortoleto stayed in 16th. Lawson dropped 5 positions and was in 15th. Ocon dropped 1 position and was in 14th. Albon dropped 6 positions and was in 13th. Hadjar dropped 3 positions and was in 12th. Tsunoda dropped 6 positions and was in 11th. Antonelli, although he qualified 7th, he had a 3 grid place penalty from the incident where he crashed with Verstappen in Austria, so that carried over, and as a result he qualified in the end in 10th but was up 4 positions in comparison to where he was in FP3. Sainz was up 3 positions in 9th. Gasly was in 12th, 12 positions upwards, but that's as a result of Behrman and Antonelli. A lot of shifting around happened around the mid-grid. So Sainz was up 3 positions, Gasly was up 12 positions and was in 8th. Alonso was up 10 positions and started 7th. Leclerc was down 5 positions and started 6th. Hamilton was up 6 positions and started in 5th. And then Russell was up 4 positions and started in 4th. Norris was up 1 position and started 3rd. Piastri stayed in 2nd, and Verstappen was up 2 positions and started in pole position. So now let's see how everything panned out in the end, and oh boy was it chaos. Yes, it was very much chaos. So in 20th we had Colapinto, who did not even get the chance to start because he crashed in qualifying right at the end. So he had to get everything fixed. He had to have a new power unit fitted into his car, and he had to start from the pit lane. But, and that's where it all gets interesting, he got stuck in second gear and could not move, so technically he did not even start the race, so he was automatically out of the race from the get-go. And then so in 19th it was Lawson who crashed out in the first lap due to hooking his wheel onto Ocon's car, who tried to avoid Tsunoda and spun out. Visibility was really difficult during this race as it was raining heavily before and during the race, and it was just madness out there. So Lawson was out in the first lap and he moved down 4 places. Bortoleto also crashed out, he was down 2 positions, he finished in 18th. And then Hadjar also crashed out, he hit Antonelli due to poor visibility, so he moved down 5 places and finished in 17th. Antonelli then, due to the damage from Hadjar when he rammed into him from the back, his diffuser was affected heavily, so Antonelli also did not get a chance to start, so Hadjar dropped 5 places and finished in 17th. Antonelli dropped 6 places and finished in 16th. So it was a really bad day for the rookies. And then Tsunoda finished last of all the people who finished the race. He finished in 15th. He lost out on 4 positions. Leclerc was down 8 positions in 14th due to poor strategy. They decided to pit him during the formation lap due to the fact that they started with a safety car due to the rain, and as a result it did not work out very well for him or George Russell, and it was even worse for Leclerc, and he finished in 14th, so he did not get any points for that race. And then Ocon was up 1 position and he finished in 13th. Sainz was down 3 positions, he finished in 12th. Behrman was up 7 positions from where he started in 18th due to his penalty, and was relatively close to points. He finished in 11th. He was going for Russell, but in the end it did not work out, but he did go up 7 places and finished in 11th. And then Russell finished in 10th, and he was very disappointed by that, as he did start in 4th. He dropped down 6 positions. He also was affected by poor strategy due to the fact that they also decided to pit him during the formation lap, and then decided to pit him also and give him bad tyres during the race, and it had severely affected his race as a result. He was at the back for the majority of the race. He is lucky to have gained 1 point as a result. And then in 9th we have Alonso, who dropped 2 places. Albon was up 5 places and finished in 8th. Stroll had a great race. He was up 10 positions and finished in 7th. There was a high possibility that he would finish 3rd, but then he was just he did not have a good time near the end and just was constantly being overtaken, and ended up in 7th, but he did make up 10 places from where he qualified. Gasly, he was up 2 positions, finished in 6th, so that's a good few points for Alpine, and boy did they need that. And then Verstappen was down 4 positions due to the second safety car that was deployed when it was ending. Piastri was leading the race, and he unfortunately slowed down too much, and this caused Verstappen's tyres to go really cold, and round the next corner after they restarted the race, Verstappen just slid off the track. It did not affect his car, but it did affect his position, and Piastri did get a penalty. He got 10-second penalty, and spoilers, did not win the race. And then Hamilton was 4th. He gained 1 position. Hülkenberg is one of the biggest stories here. He started in 19th, gained 16 positions, and after 15 years of being in Formula 1, finally got his chance to be on the podium for the first time. After 239 race entries, we saw a Hülkenberg podium. He finished in 3rd, and boy oh boy did everyone like that. We are so proud of Nico Hülkenberg and his progress in the last 4 races, and just generally how the Sauber team has been getting on this year. In 2nd, as a result of the 10-second penalty, Piastri was affected in his position, and he finished in 2nd, so he did not move up or down in terms of where he qualified and where he finished. And then Lando Norris gained 2 positions. He started in 3rd, finished in 1st. It was his first ever British Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, and boy was he happy. All his family were there, and it was a joy to be seen. And the top 3 got all of the trophies, which were made of Lego as well, so that was pretty special. So it was a mixed bag for McLaren. They did finish in 1-2, but because of the penalty, there was not a happy bunny in Oscar Piastri, but there was a very happy bunny in Nico Hülkenberg and Lando Norris. So now let's get on to the side stuff, where we'll be discussing the drivers and the teams. Okay, so let's start with the driver's standings. Piastri is still in the lead, but only by a margin of 8 points. So he is on 234 points, followed by Norris, who's on 226. And then 61 points behind him is Verstappen on 165. And then Russell is 18 points behind him on 147. And then behind Russell is Leclerc, 28 points behind on 119. And then behind Leclerc, 16 points behind, is Hamilton with 103. And then Antonelli is 40 points behind on 63. And then Albon in 8th, 17 points behind on 46. And then Nico Hülkenberg is 9 points behind on 37. Followed by Ocon, who's in 10th with 14 points behind on 23. And then Hadjar, 2 points behind him on 21 in 11th. Stroll is in 12th, 1 point behind with 20 points. Gasly is 1 point behind Stroll in 13th with 19 points. Alonso is in 14th, who is 3 points behind Gasly with 16 points. Sainz in 15th, 3 points behind Alonso with 13. Lawson in 16th, he is 1 point behind Sainz with 12. Tsunoda in 17th, 2 points behind Lawson with 10. Behrman is in 18th, 4 points behind Tsunoda with 6. Bortoleto is 2 points behind Behrman with 4 points. And then in 20th we have Colapinto, who is 4 points behind with Bortoleto, and he is on 0. And then Jack Doohan, as we know, doesn't race, at least right now, and he is bottom of the league for now. And then we will discuss the teams. So McLaren is still in with a high margin. They are on 460 points. We are halfway through the race calendar, and there is no stopping the Papaya boys. Followed by Ferrari, who are on 222 points, so they are 238 points behind McLaren. And then behind Ferrari is Mercedes, who are 12 points behind on 210. Behind Mercedes, 38 points behind, is Red Bull Racing on 172. And then behind them is Williams, who are 113 points behind on 59. Then behind them, Kick Sauber has gone up so many places. They are 18 points behind Williams with 41 points. Behind them, 5 points behind, are the Racing Bulls with 36. And Aston Martin are also on 36. So they are level, but Racing Bulls had higher positions in finishing the races, so they are ahead there. And behind Aston, 7 points behind, are Haas with 29 points. And at the very bottom, still, but having gained 8 points, is Alpine, 10 points behind Haas on 19. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed this little edition of including Formula 2. Next time around, on our next race rundown, during a race Grand Prix, which will be in 2 weeks' time, I will include the qualifying free practice for F2 and F3 as well, because that will be our episode on Saturday. We'll be discussing the F3 races, where there are 36 of them, so that gets even crazier. And then we will, after that, on the Saturday after, I'll clue you in, and we'll be discussing how the girls are doing in F1 Academy. And then eventually we will be able to have all of the race rundowns, including across those 4 Formula races. and I hope you like the idea of that. I just want to include as much as possible, and I wanted to do that for a while. So please check out Be the Change Media Network, check out my colleagues, check out the merch shop, check out the website BeTheChangeMediaNetwork.com. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you on Saturday. Goodbye.